There we go. Hello. Thank you for watching my video. Now, this one you could call sort of an in-house debate. Well, it's just me in the room now, but if you're not a Mormon, you're getting a peek inside of the guts of the church, or so to speak. 2 days ago, I found out for the first time about a group that calls themselves Mama Dragons. And I've got some thoughts. These Mama Dragons claim to be supporting their homosexual children. Their LGBTQ ABCDEFG children. I found about them 2 days ago. 1 day ago, I searched for them on the internet to find out more about them. I looked at all the articles that came up in 3 pages of search engine, which was only about 4 because I found other stuff that had the name Dragon in it or Mama in it, but wasn't this group, Mama Dragons. One of the articles claimed that quoted one of these mothers saying that when her son came out, that there were people in her ward that wouldn't take the sacrament if he had taken it. For the most part, I think the Mama Dragons are wrong, but on this one, they've got some reason to be offended. You should take the sacrament, even if the person next to you is unworthy or something. There we go. Let's get some carbonation on it to help. It's possible this mother was overreacting, because people do that sometimes. They assume somebody else is thinking something or too easily offended. Maybe the people that didn't take the sacrament the day her son came out were themselves excommunicated or disfellowshipped for something. Then you're not supposed to take the sacrament. Or weren't in some disciplinary... weren't going through some disciplinary council like that, but personally felt unworthy at that day to take the sacrament and didn't. This is take 2. What was the thing I skipped over the first time? One of these mothers was quoted in one of the articles accusing the church of teaching that her son's feelings or orientation was a sin. The church has never taught that. The church has never taught that feeling tempted to do something is a sin. It's when you do the thing that's the sin. If you plan on doing what's the sin, then you've committed it in your heart. If you're trying to do it, if you try to set up a person to have a relationship with, you're trying to commit the sin. But if you just feel the attraction, that's not the sin. Leviticus 18:22 does not say, "Thou shalt not lie down with mankind, thou shalt not feel like or want to lay down with mankind as with womankind." It says, "Thou shalt not lay down with mankind as with womankind." But just because something is, we are born in a fallen world, we feel tempted to do bad things. That's a teaching of the church. That goes for everything. So it's ridiculous for that woman that said that to say that. The church is not saying your son or your daughter's um, that your son or your daughter's feelings are a sin, but your son or your daughter better not act on it, because the law of chastity is real, and on Judgment Day, God's not going to be joking around with people that were violating the commandments. One of these women, according to one of the articles, has a daughter who identifies as bisexual and is in a same-sex relationship now, and the mother's seemed like the mother was supportive of her daughter in that. If your child feels attracted to both, that means she feels attracted to a man, and she doesn't need to violate her feelings to obey the law of chastity and get into a relationship. But some of these mama dragons, so you mama dragons, listen up. It seemed like you demand that the church not tell your children that they're acting on their feelings would be a sin. That there's nothing wrong with the feeling they have. If you're consistent with yourself on that principle, then when your heterosexual child says, "Mom, Dad, here's my opposite sex partner. We're going to live together and have sex without getting married." If you're consistent with yourself, you need to demand the church not call that a sin, because that's what they felt like doing. They were born that way. If you're consistent with yourself, and your husband comes home and says, "You know what, honey? I want to get a Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition and have sex with the models in that, or the closest thing I can find to that." If you're consistent with yourself, you must support your husband in that, because that's what he was born with. It's natural for him. The male heterosexual tendency is lots of sex with young, hot chicks. That's the thing that the natural tendency of a male heterosexual. So you must demand the church teach that that's okay if you're going to be consistent with yourself, and demand that the church teach that your child who wants to get in a same-sex relationship is not committing a sin by getting into that same-sex relationship or planning to get into that same-sex relationship. And you really should be offended at the church's treatment of polygamists. Polygamy is not a different thing than heterosexual monogamy. It's a little bit more of the same thing. And polygamy has been authorized sometimes in the past. See the Old Testament. See the 1800s. If you're consistent with yourself, you must demand that the church stop harassing polygamists. If the reason you want the church to tell your child that he or she can get into a same-sex relationship and it's not a sin, if the reason for that is that's the way he or she feels, it's just there, it's born that way, well, the polygamists are born that way too. Those polygamous men are not, fighting their instincts to get that second wife. They're doing what comes naturally. Now, if it seemed like you mama dragons were trying to get the church to endorse polygamous activity, you've done a really crappy PR job if that's not what you're trying to do. If you are just trying to fight false doctrines that are not in the church, and have the truth that feeling something is not a sin, then I'm on board with that. Feeling attracted to the same sex is not a sin. But it seems like it's more than that you're trying to do, based on the 5 articles I read about you and looking at your Facebook page. So, thank you for watching this. Have a good day.